Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
Todd, I'll love it. Todd, I'll love it.
Todd and Craig, good to hear you guys.
Todd, I'll love it.
This is Attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Honestly, you could not be any more spot on.
Now, from the Black Diamond Group mothership in the studios of 98.5 UPS, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting in the Black Diamond Group mothership in the middle of the mitten in a beautiful green nutrient field with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle, the water's wet, the sky is blue, I'm keeping this short, and we love you. How you doing, Craig?
I am fan-flippin-tastic, Todd. How are you?
You know, I could not be better. I'm just turning it and burning it and opening up the show with Skid Row, which, by the way, that song, I mean, classic 80s hair band music.
Oh, yeah, totally.
What a great voice. That goes out to my dear friend. He's my brother. He's family to me. I've known him my entire life. Dan Morrow. So you know Dan.
Oh, yeah, I know Dan.
Yeah, so much love to Dan Morrow. He's one of my favorite humans on planet Earth that I talk to on a regular basis, and one of my lifelong friends since as long as I can remember. And you know, I just love the guy. So, and Mike.
Okay.
But, definitely out to Dan. But so that goes out to Dan. Skid Row, I remember you. How you doing, Craig?
I'm good, Todd. That was from 1989. That went all the way to number 6 on the Hot 100. That song did.
Is this the Hot 100, or are we going to attempt to be a law show today?
Nah, we're going to do a little Casey Kasem. And now, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Now it's Casey Kasem. I can't imitate Casey Kasem. But Craig,
Todd,
what did we really want to play?
Well, I was going to say, you opened the show with that, but you really wanted to play some Poison, another power ballad from the 80s. Yeah, a little something to believe in.
And these songs go out to all the lovers out there, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
All the lovers.
Well, I see him on the TV preaching about the promised lands. He tells me believe in Jesus steals the money from my hands. Some say he was a good man. Lord, I think he sinned. 22 years of mental tears, cries of suicidal Vietnam vet. He fought a losing war on a foreign shore to find his country, didn't want him back. The bullet has took his best friends in Saigon. Our Lord has took his wife, his kids, no regrets. Anytime I don't remember, and a war he can't forget. He cried, forgive me for what I'd done there, 'cause I never meant the things I did. And give me something to believe in.
You give me something to believe in, Todd. God love it.
So, Craig, huge weekend last weekend. The significant other and yours truly, once again, headed to Chicago, Soldier Field, for another Metallica show, the second one within a year. First one was in November, Ford Field. After that show, I needed more Metallica, so we headed off to Soldier Field. And what a show. Pantera opened up, as they did at Soldier Field. But, again, what a great show, Craig.
Yeah, you sent me a video from it. It looked crazy. A lot of people there, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sold out, Soldier Field. Yeah, and we had great seats. You know, the sound in Ford Field, much better than Soldier Field as far as the acoustics, but I'm not one to complain. I'm part of the Metallica family. A lot of their set was from Kill 'Em All from 1983, Ride the Lightning, 1984, and, of course, one of my all-time favorite, Master of Puppets, Master. And they also played some music from And Justice for All, but Sunday they had a completely different set. So Saturday, we didn't know this, but the Chicago Ear Show was taking place along Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
So there was like 1 million people out there. We got to see the Blue Angels, and I mean, it made me so proud to be an American. I watched a special on Netflix this year. I believe it was on Netflix about how one becomes a Blue Angel. And it's the best of the United States Air Force, Navy, the military. We love our military. We love our vets. But it made me so proud just to stand there and watch what they did. You know, they do a diamond formation.
Right.
Where their wings are so close together. That was outstanding. And then at night, and I've been to Chicago about 100 times. Obviously, Rachel, my oldest daughter, went to law school in Chicago. So Jen and I have been to Chicago dozens of times. This was the first time we took a riverboat cruise up the Chicago River at night. It was an architectural tour, and it was a tour on a boat up the river of the different buildings and the eras and what they represented, the different styles of architecture. I'm telling you right now, it was stunning, Craig, just stunning.
Oh, yeah, Chicago is a fantastic city. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, you know, Chicago gets sometimes a bad rap. Detroit gets a bad rap. Chicago is a major metropolitan area in this country, and lots of big buildings and lots of architecture and lots of history. It's really fascinating.
So if you're going to go to, I would, advise everybody to at least go to Chicago. You could stay right there on Riverwalk, which there's a beautiful, it goes for miles on both sides of the river. And I didn't know this, but I mean, obviously, there were Native Americans here before Europeans arrived, and it was the Potawatomi Indians. So Potawatomi, the river was known at that time for wild onions growing alongside it. I had no idea. Also, I think it was Marquette, the great explorer Marquette. We have a university in Wisconsin. We have Marquette, Michigan. But he was exploring, and I might be wrong on the name, to see if there was a passage from Chicago to the ocean. Turns out the Mississippi connects to the Chicago River all the way down to the Gulf. So I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I needed to update my geography there. So, I mean, I knew the Mississippi runs from the north of our country all the way down south, but I wasn't quite sure. Never really thought about the Chicago River. But great show, Metallica. Just outstanding, and I'm looking forward to seeing them again at some point in the near future, Craig.
And again, Chicago, beautiful city, third biggest city in the country, was founded by the French in 1670 something, And it's,
it's hard to say it was founded when there was already people living there, right?
True, yes. There were already Native Americans there, but it was
discovered by the French.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That'd be
I'm not politically correct. I'm the last person to be politically correct, but, that's how I approach it.
It was settled in 1780. So there you go. I was just doing a little research there, but we got a big show today, don't we?
Huge show. Attorney Mike Nichols is coming on the show. Next week, by the way, William Conklin, attorney at law, is also coming on the show. He is fired up, Craig. My dear friend, attorney Bill Conklin, I call him. He's my brother, even though he's a teak and I'm a SIGEP. He's coming on the show next week, fine attorney. And the week after, we have a real special guest, which we're going to announce next week for all you ORV, side-by-side, Jeepers.
Oh.
What's that?
I said, big stuff. Big stuff. I don't even know about this.
Big stuff coming up in the next 3 weeks. Then, coming into the 4th through the 6th week, we have an attorney coming on to talk about probate, wills, and trust, and how to set up an estate. And we're going to have some family lawyers on. But Craig, before we get to all the law we have to get to, and I definitely want to talk about that Disney lawsuit. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did hear about that one, yep.
We're definitely going to talk to attorney Mike Nichols about that. A lady was at one of the Disney properties in Florida, and apparently they were at a restaurant. She had an allergic reaction and passed away. Her husband obviously brought a lawsuit against Disney. And look, I full disclosure, I have the Disney Plus app because of The Mandalorian and all the Star Wars series. I love ESPN, which is owned by Disney and ABC. But in this case, the husband hired a law firm to sue Disney. And what do you think Disney's defense is? I think it's ridiculous. There's no way this is going to have teeth. But
I did not hear about that, but we'll talk about that when we get to Mike Nichols coming up. To tease, if you will.
Yeah, so a couple other things I want to talk about before we get to the next segment. One of my favorite new pastimes. You ready for this one, Craig?
Okay.
I love going to Menards, right? Home Depot, right. Menards. I'm a guy. Also, what's the other great tool place? Hey, Jen.
Home Depot.
There's one in Mount Pleasant. We got Harbor Freight. Love
Harbor Freight, yep.
I mean, they got everything. But I got to be honest, as I'm almost 60 years of age, and I'm going to acknowledge that I love watching different birds, throwing seed out there. I have a nature channel that I follow. I'm now bird watching at Menards. I just want to state that for the record. You go into Menards, into the nursery area, Craig, and I'm telling you, there's so many birds up there. You got to watch out so they don't end up, dropping something on your noggin. I was at Menards last week, and I said to the cashier, Dawn, I said, how many birds live in Menards? Because not inside the actual store, but in the garden area.
Yeah.
I mean, and I said to her, do you guys feed them? She goes, no, they fly out, they fly in, they just fly in and out. So while Jen was shopping, I was trying to identify all the different birds. So there's my bird watching event at Menards. And then, I'm trying to find a new pillow because I need a new pillow. I mean, I've had this pillow for a decade now, and it's about time to throw it out. Kind of like a baby with a binky or a water.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I thought you were talking about throwing a baby out. I'm like, wait a minute. Just because the baby gets a little bigger, you don't throw the baby out.
Like a baby, when you're a baby and your mom takes your binky from you.
Now I know
or
what
if you have kids or grandkids, you take their binky. It was time for me to get rid of the pillow. But the problem is, how do you go to a big store and buy a pillow, because you really need to lie down? So I was just imagining I was going to pick you up, take you to Walmart with me or Meijer, and we were going to go, and I was going to have you be on the lookout for workers. Of course, there's cameras. And I was going to actually lay in the aisle with a pillow so I could test it out. So I'm recruiting you, Craig, to help me buy a new pillow. And I need to lay flat, because you can't just, what are you going to do? Go find a pillow, and everybody does this. You stick it on your hand and you lay your head on it. That doesn't do it for me. I need to lay flat on the ground. I don't care where it is in Walmart. I just need you to just be on the watch out. So if somebody comes along, you tell them I'm okay. I don't need a health check. All right.
Here's what I think you should do. You buy you buy 3 pillows. You take them home. You don't take them out of the wrapper. You try each one out, and the 2 you don't like, you take them back, and you keep the one you like.
I think the listeners would like my idea better of taking you with me to Walmart so I can lay flat and try out the pillow because you got to lie down. But my buddy Dave owns Dave's Furniture in Mount Pleasant. He sells pillows and mattresses. That's where I get all my stuff. Big shout to Dave from Dave's Furniture. So the odds are we're just going to go see my buddy Dave.
And he'll let you lay down in one of the beds, probably.
He's got everything over there at Dave's Furniture. He's great. But hey, Craig, big law show today. We got Mike Nichols coming on to talk about some new law. We got the Disney lawsuit to talk about. And what else we got going on?
Oh, there's also that thing that happened in Detroit with didn't they take a field trip to a court or something, and a kid fell asleep, and that's a big deal too.
Yeah, I believe it was a young lady. I don't know if it was 36th District Court downtown Detroit, and the judge warned the young lady she needs to wake up, and the judge ended up putting her in handcuffs. I think it was a young lady, and also having her dress into a county jail wardrobe.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm just telling you right now, that's disgusting. Yeah. Here's a young lady. We don't know what her family situation is. We don't know if she had a medical issue. She was dozing off. Not her fault. Okay, there could be a half a dozen to a dozen reasons. And this judge, is trying to teach her a lesson. That's the opposite way to teach somebody a lesson.
Agreed.
I just completely. You don't have to be a lawyer to feel that way. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel exactly the same way. I don't think that's the way you teach a lesson at all. And I think Nichols will probably have something to say about it as well. We'll get to Mike and more law coming up. We take a break on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. We'll be right back.
This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Beaverton, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barrington, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Welcome back to the Todd 11 Law Show, turning it and burning it with Skid Row. Craig, I just cannot get enough of Skid Row today.
I know you can. I'll remember you.
Like what I
did there?
Let's not waste any time. Listen, Craig, you do the honor of introducing one of my best friends in the whole world. Somebody I have the utmost respect for as one of the smartest lawyers walking around on Third Rock from the Sun. Who is it, Craig?
The guy who's got to stop typing on his laptop. It's Mike the Nick Nichols.
Yeah! Mike, how you doing, my man?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen. I just never stop. That's all there is to it.
24/7, 365. He's the man.
Attorney
It's
Mike
a
Nichols,
disease.
Nichols Law Firm out of East Lansing statewide, together and along with the boss, Wendy Nichols, attorney at law. Such a great staff and other lawyers. Mike, how have you been?
It's been a long summer without being on the show. I miss you guys.
Yeah, we tried getting you on a few times. We couldn't do it because of your schedule, our schedule. We're glad to have you back in the mothership. Before we get to the Michigan Supreme Court decisions or the United States Supreme Court, I know you have a lot to talk about. I wanted to get your take on the judge in Detroit who handcuffed that young lady and what your thoughts are on that.
And you know what I try to do is put myself in the position of the defense attorney who just happens to be there, because I didn't hear exactly what your recitation of the facts were, but remember, he had like one of the public defenders who just happens to be in that hallway come in and represent this poor 15-year-old kid. I don't want to call her a poor kid. I mean, I don't know. But what would I have done if I had witnessed a judge put a 15-year-old in handcuffs, which you are simply not supposed to do? On the one hand, as a parent with certain philosophies, I get that, but on the other hand, you can't. There are certain things that you just cannot do as a jurist, and I kind of think that's one of them. I understand that he wanted to make a point. Totally get that. I think we all do. But there's a certain way to say the same thing that could have been much more effective. And what the answer is, I don't know. But I'd like to think that if I were the defense attorney, I would have said, Judge, sidebar. And maybe suggest to the judge, let's not go over the top and let's dial it back a little bit.
But here's what
I think the judge is going to get a JTC complaint, Judicial Tenure Commission.
Right. I could be wrong on the facts. I thought it was a school classroom trip to observe a courtroom. One of the female students was falling asleep, and that's what the judge did. It wasn't even a juvenile defendant in a courtroom. It was more like a field trip. That's what it was. And she kept dozing off, and the judge wanted to make an impression upon her and the rest of the students and handcuffed her. He didn't put her in, which is essentially incarceration, right, Mike? If you handcuff somebody, you're in custody.
Yeah, as the kids say, 100%. And, based on, he's quoted, at least he's quoted, we don't know because we don't have a transcript, an official transcript, but he's at least quoted in the Detroit papers as having said, I don't like your attitude. Well, based on what? You'd met her for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that?
And here's my thought. What if she had a medical condition? What if she had a bad home life? She didn't eat breakfast. She didn't get any sleep last night because there was argument going on in the house. She made it to school. She made it to class. She went on a field trip, and she ends up dozing off. I've seen lawyers doze off in court many times. I've seen judges doze off in court. And here's a young lady. We don't know the facts of the case, but we'll keep the audience updated on what happens to the judge, on future episodes. But Mike, also, I want to just touch on the Disney lawsuit. A lady, unfortunately, goes to a restaurant somewhere in Florida on one of the Disney properties, has an allergic reaction, passes away. The husband sues Disney. Disney's defense is because the husband signed up for the Disney Plus app, which I have because I love The Mandalorian. I call Craig Russell Mando, and I love watching Star Wars trilogy series, so I have to have the Disney Plus app. They said Disney's defense is that the husband is barred from suing because of the language contained in that Disney Plus app, which had nothing to do with that restaurant and what happened to that lady. Did you hear about this?
Absolutely. And I listened to that story on, I think, public radio is where I was exposed to it. And then I get these Law 360 articles with interesting stories about different litigation. And I thought to myself, where this is really going to, where the nub of this, where people are, judges and lawyers are going to have to figure this out. There's what's the nexus between consumer, so Todd, Craig, you or I or the husband, clicking on the I accept button for, in this case, Disney Plus, and a completely separate but under the same umbrella of the corporation. So you could say it's the same corporate entity. In the law, we call it privity, right? The relationship between husband and it was a Disney park, right? Where the restaurant was?
I believe
owned
so.
and operated by a Disney park?
The owners of the restaurant contracted to provide those services.
Right.
So, yeah,
and that's and that's where the fight's going to be is, okay, yeah, maybe the restaurant is technically under the same very, very, very large corporate umbrella, but what's the privity? What's the relationship between husband's family and the restaurant? Or what's the privity between husband and husband's family and the husband clicking on the Disney Plus app, which, by the way, I've deleted and unsubscribed to because it's just, there's not that much good stuff on that.
I know.
Sorry.
I like the Mandalorian and all the Star Wars series. Plus, I love, Disney owns ESPN also. And I have nothing against Disney, but I just think their defense is ridiculous. Here's a lady passes away in a restaurant. I don't know anything about the facts of the case, so I'm not.
And she was a doctor. She was a doctor. And according to the article I heard, they asked several times the service staff about, what was it, a peanut allergy that she had, making sure that the food was safe for her to eat.
Yeah, I mean, look, Disney would be, if I'm advising them, just settle the case and do away with the negative publicity. But we're talking with attorney Mike Nichols of Nichols Law Firm located in East Lansing, Michigan, together with his wife, attorney Wendy Nichols, and a great staff. If somebody wants representation, Mike, in criminal defense, personal injury, auto accident, so many other areas of law, how can they reach you and the rest of the firm?
Well, I am at www.nicholslawyers.com or 517-432-9000. And I'm simply supported by, the best team ever. I'm just a cog in the wheel. My name just happens to be on the door.
Your name is just not on the door. I have an attorney who's also good friends with you, Nicholas H. Klaus, who works at Levitt Law Firm. And a day does not go by where he's doing research. And what do you think he's reading, Mike, and researching from?
So I wrote a book called the Michigan OWI. I forget if it's called the OWI Handbook or the OWI Manual or something like that, but it's a treatise. It's a practice book for lawyers on DUI law and practice. DUI meaning driving under the influence, or OWI, operating under the influence. And I do talk to Nicholas quite a bit. Nick should come to the breath test training that we're doing in East Lansing at MSU Law School on August 22nd.
Yeah, you were generous and to invite the two of us. I don't know if I'll make it, but he'll definitely be there. And you're a genius, Mike. We love having you on the show. I want to talk about those Supreme Court decisions when we come back from break. I'm going to stop sucking up all the oxygen here. Craig Russell, the muscle, and let the Nick Nichols do all the talking when we come back after a word from our sponsors. This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Barrington, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barrington, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. It's Todd, it's Craig, it's Skid Row, and it's attorney Mike Nichols from Nichols Law in East Lansing. Yay! Mike the Nick. How's your summer been, Nick?
Better than last summer when I was recovering from a broken neck.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How are you doing?
Great.
Awesome.
110%, I think, from where I was before. Busy. We'll talk in a minute, I hope, about a trial I had with Robert Wims in Gaylord last month in early July. I think a lot of your listeners will love to hear about this. So it's been busy, man. Two trials, in fact. I did one last Friday where I think we talked about falling asleep because of different environmental conditions. We had a Michigan State Police trooper in the jury who fell asleep in trial. I was second chairing, right? I was helping one of the lawyers at our firm do the trial, and I noticed this trooper fell asleep.
That's not good. That's
no,
not good.
He was
but you know what? The judge did not put him in handcuffs.
When there was a voir dire taking place, nobody, or were you out of challenges at that time?
So I was not at the jury selection. The trial started on a day that I was had this other trial going. But apparently, yeah, I mean, all those things came out like this. The judges usually ask jurors, and lawyers, of course, ask jurors, is anybody in law enforcement, know anybody in law enforcement, related to anybody in law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Because in a criminal case, that's kind of a big deal, right? And it came out that this young man was a trooper with the Michigan State Police, and my colleague was out of what they call peremptory challenges, which are challenges you can just use. You get like 3 of them in a misdemeanor case. You can use them for no reason. You just don't like the cut of somebody's jib. He was out of those, and the trooper answered all the questions the way the judge would have wanted him to. Oh, yeah, I can be fair. You know, I've been to lots of these domestic violence calls, and I know sometimes the person making the call is, full of it. But he got on the jury, and then he was late on day 2, the day that I was there, He was 25 minutes late because he had worked the night before, and I guess he tried to crash for 20 minutes. The judge almost struck him. In fact, the judge struck him from the jury. He said, I'm dismissing, juror so-and-so because he's not here, and it was supposed to be 9 o'clock, and it's now like 9:25. And I'm thinking, okay, that's not a bad little piece of serendipity. And then the security guard, the bailiff, is watching the exterior video at the courthouse, and he says, oh, he's pulling in, Judge. And I said, Judge, you ruled. You granted the motion. You ruled. He's got to go. And the judge said, he's going to stay since he's here. We'll just roll with it.
Well, two things. One, much love to all the troopers out there, because I do have a lot of friends that are troopers, and I'd rather have that young trooper getting a good night's sleep and not being picked for jury duty. That way he can keep us safe on the highway. So much love to all the troopers out there who keep us safe. But how'd the trial go? What was the result of the trial?
So we tried it.
What kind of case was it?
It was a domestic violence case, and our client is a PhD math student from a foreign country who's not a citizen of the United States. And so he can't even agree to, like a deferred kind of prosecution, because the Bureau of Customs and Immigration Services, used to be called the INS, they look at what you put on the record in terms of, are you accepting the charges, the claims made against you, are you pleading guilty? So you can't even do that particular statutory provision, legal provision, that allows somebody to get a deferral and a dismissal if you successfully complete probationary terms. Could not do that. We had to go to trial unless they were going to dismiss it. The facts were the facts. He did put his hands on his roommate/girlfriend. A weird dynamic, because there was a third roommate who was involved. It was very strange. So he was convicted. And now we're still going to try to get him that deferral, because you can do this particular type of deferral. You can do even if you go to trial, or we might have an appeal because of some legal issues. But you just got to keep fighting for the guy.
But based on what I know and you just stated, once he's convicted, not that he would necessarily be deported, but once he leaves this country, he might have trouble through his embassy getting a passport to enter back into our country. Is that
exactly
okay?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah,
there's a lot of international students and people from all over the world. I no longer do that. I refer them to you. But talk about. I know there's another case you want to talk about before we get to the Supreme Court decisions, because the listeners want to know, and I don't want to run out of time. So, what do you think is more valuable? The 5 Supreme Court decisions, the end of July, or the case that, this trial you had? Can you fit all that in real quick?
Here's how I thought long and hard about conveying to everybody out there in Todd Levitt Law podcast land the 5 big Michigan Supreme Court cases. Look, they expanded civil liberties by undoing a bunch of really conservative, twisted, bad opinions over the last 20 years. You have the right to move about freely unless you do something that gives law enforcement an objective reason to stop you. And even at that point, they've got to continue to justify more intrusive contact with you, whether it's a search of your person, a search of your vehicle, of course, a search of your home. And there's a great case that says just because...
Talking federal law.
State law interpreting both Michigan and federal constitutional rights.
Okay.
And you can find lots of summaries out there if you Google, because lawyers are already, writing them up, lawyers and legal scholars. So we can dispense with that. But I want to talk about the case in Gaylord, because this was, if I may proceed, Your Honor.
Please.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Judge Craig. So in Gaylord,
I just run the courtroom.
You're just the bailiff.
I'm just a bailiff.
You've got the uniform on.
Craig's like Judge Judy, so he's a little bit better looking than her. But
please approach. No, I'm kidding. Please approach the bench.
Are the parties sworn? Are they under? Are you really testifying that way?
Are you under oath?
good.
Okay.
That's my Judge Judy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
In Gaylord, a United States Marine Corps veteran who is now at the age of 28, but when she was in the Corps, she was hurt by a bomb. It did not detonate, but they were practicing loading and unloading munitions onto those tanker carriers, C-130s. I'm probably botching that, and I apologize. And so some Navy person can't hold up the one end of the bomb. It falls on our now client, and it basically concusses her whole body at the age of 20. And she tries to go on in the Corps. 8-9 months later, she finally gets medically discharged because she just can't get back to anywhere near full strength, and she's declared permanently disabled for benefits purposes, right? And she's in pain every day. She comes back to Michigan, where she's from, and she becomes a patient under our medical marijuana program. And fast forward to 2022, late March, in fact, the last day of March, she's married. Her husband's also a patient. They work at a retail outlet in Petoskey. They live in Waters, Michigan, just north of Grayling. They medicate in the morning, 6:30, which is the 2 or 3 tokes from a small bong. And she drives. All of a sudden, it's black ice. The conditions go from, a pretty nice day to a really, it's northern Michigan, right? It's March 31st. It's still basically winter. Anything can happen. She hits black ice as she's trying to pass a car and loses it. And it goes from freakish to freakish. The way the car just left the road into a very deep gully. Not really a ditch, a gully, 7 feet deep. Car spins, hits a small tree, spins back around, and slams into this bigger tree. But with the rotation, it catches the passenger side just the right way, and her husband, we'll call it window shades, and his C1 vertebrae, right? So that very first vertebrae at the top snaps, and that's probably what killed him. So he dies. She's a wreck. And she's at the hospital 2 hours later. An MSP trooper shows up, interviews her. He's with her for an hour and a half, memorializes in a police report no signs of intoxication at all. But she says, yeah, I'm a patient and I used my marijuana earlier today. She then gets charged with 2 15-year felonies, 15 years. One for OWI by marijuana causing death, and one for reckless driving causing death because she sped up to almost 70 miles an hour to pass this car before she hit black ice. And we convinced a jury that even though at the time her blood was drawn about, I want to say almost 4 hours after the accident, she had 7 nanograms in her system. We educated the jury on the science of marijuana in the human body and those pathways, and they found her not guilty on both counts. And even though she had marijuana in her system, the Michigan State Police own toxicology unit supervisor, a guy named Jeffrey French, testified the presence of marijuana is not proof of intoxication. It's proof of use, yes, but it's not by itself proof of intoxication. And that was huge.
That's like going to set precedents, isn't it?
I'm going to go to my deathbed, Craig, and if I have the blessing of, having my faculties, I'm going to think about that case and smile.
Yeah, one, it's tragic, too. I mean, she served our country proud. She got injured. We love our vets, so thank you to her for our service. What a tragic story. And then she gets charged with those 2 felonies. And thank goodness she had the best lawyer in the state of Michigan, attorney Mike Nichols from Nichols Law Firm.
Well, I was nothing more than volunteer co-counsel for another great lawyer in our great state, Robert Wims, who's in Traverse City. And he just reached out to me because, like we all talk as lawyers. Hey, you know this pretty well. What do you think about this? Right? And so he wanted to exclude the blood draw, the 7 nanograms of marijuana. He did a motion to exclude that because the lab had all these problems at that time with how they were doing their marijuana analyses. And I signed up as soon as he told me the story that I just told you guys. I said, wait, 20 years old, bomb falls on her, U.S. Marine Corps, marijuana patient, and now getting charged with that? Oh, hell yeah. Where do I sign up to volunteer?
I'd raise my right hand, both arms.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just so tragic. I mean, it's a very sad story, but I'm glad it had an okay ending. I say okay because she lost her husband.
Lost her husband. But, now she can start.
It isn't going to spend 30 years in jail, for starters. So.
Right. No, fantastic outcome for this amazing lady, for sure.
She is amazing. I got to know her, and she's just fantastic. She had a great support network. If any of you friends, who I'm talking about, are listening, so many people would show up to like mock trial sessions and showed up to the actual trial. I mean, the courtroom, one side of it was full of all of her supporters, including her former mother-in-law, the mother of the gentleman who died. It was amazing, and all of you are my heroes, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So before we go to break, Craig, because I know we're running out of time.
We are.
Any other Supreme Court decisions, Mike? Because you said there were 5. You gave us 1.
Yeah, there were 4 others, 3 addressing the Fourth Amendment, all of which said, look, law enforcement, before you say this person is a suspect and needs to be detained and or arrested, show your work. Explain why. Another one addressed really a great opinion, People versus Lemons, on scientific evidence. And all I can say about that opinion is it is a big win for people who are charged wrongfully just because their child, infant, toddler died, and the police think it's, as the kids say, sus. Yeah.
You're quoting the kids a lot these days.
What's that?
You're quoting the kids a lot these days, there, Mike Nichols. What are you?
It's my new. I've got a 15-year-old.
What are you, 47 going on 12? That's a. Hey, you know what? I know you got the Riz, but that's a little sus if you ask me.
Okay, remind me? What's the Riz mean?
Charisma. You got the Riz. You got the Riz, but that's still a little sus.
I'm a volleyball dad. I don't know if Riz and volleyball dad go hand in hand.
Okay, it took me a minute to know sus, meaning suspect, right? Is that what you're saying? No idea what you guys are talking about.
That's what my daughter says all the time.
I have all adult kids at this point in my life.
Lucky
I'm
you.
60, no grandchildren.
Lucky you.
But I do know we have to go to break. Is that right, Craig?
18 in life. How about some Skid Row?
You know it. We'll take a break. We'll wrap up the show with Mike Nichols next.
This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Beaverton, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barryton, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome back to the Todd Levitt Law Show. I'm your special co-host, Mike Nichols, and I'll remember you. Craig, did you remember that tune?
I did, from 1989.
Oh my gosh.
Number 6. Big song.
Reminds me of so many girlfriends who, I used to think about when that song came on the radio.
Todd?
I'm sure that Wendy does not hear this podcast version of the show. I'm just saying.
He did a really
She
good
hears
imitation.
my voice and she tunes out, okay? Let's just start with that.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. He did a really good imitation of you, Todd. I'm not going to lie.
He did.
He did a pretty good one.
I cannot imitate. Yeah, it was a great. I sounded like yours truly here. I don't have a smooth voice like Mike. Mike used to do TV. He was a broadcaster
and radio
on the tube.
And radio, yep.
Yeah, but
TV and radio,
TV,
both.
TV and radio.
Yes.
Yep.
Mike's got that smooth voice. Mike, you're always, I don't know if I can say this to the public, but you spend a lot of time on the island. Do you have a place there or just like going there?
No, we don't have a place. Yes, we've talked about it a lot because we love it. It's such a different world, especially, come 5:30, everybody's leaving, and it's just kind of the locals and people who stay the night, and it's really so cool. But the taxes, oh gosh, don't get me started on the taxes.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time on the island there. I'm always in God's country, the great state of Superior, otherwise known as the Upper Peninsula. But Mike,
right on.
Definitely have to have you back on the show. You've got so much more to talk about, and that will benefit the listening audience. So we cannot go 3, 4, 5 months and not having you on. So we're going to have to talk to Wendy to get your schedule cleared there, buddy.
I heard that. Yes, sir.
Yep. But we definitely covered a lot of topics today. The audience would love you to go in more detail into some of those Fourth Amendment decisions. So when you come back on in a few weeks, let's definitely do that.
Right on. And I'll look forward to seeing, hopefully, both you and Nicholas at the training at MSU Law School on next Thursday.
Well, since I'm a Detroit College of Law / MSU alumnus of the law school, you can definitely count us in.
All right.
Todd, show's over.
Time?
We got to go.
Mike, do we have time for Mike to give out his phone number one more time?
I guess so, yes.
Go ahead, Mike. Nichols Law.
It is 517-432-9000, or you can also find us at nicholslawyers.com.
Hey, there you go. And Craig, great show.
Mike Nichols in the house. Thank you, Mike.
Way too short of a show. The Nick will be back next week. We have another huge show. And Bill Conklin, attorney at law, is coming on. Then we have my good buddy Craig, who will announce more about Craig next week, that he's coming on the following week. Actually, no, Craig's coming on next week, and then I think Conklin's coming on the week after. But anyhow, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Take us out with Mike Nichols, memories of his college girlfriend. Sorry, Wendy. I'll Remember You by Skid Row.
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Clark Modular Homes of Mount Pleasant, Rusty Gold Antiques in Everett, Chad Malley Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clear Vision Windows, Siding and Roofing of Midland, and attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.